A big focus on day 9 of the Russian invasion of Ukraine is shells falling on Europe's largest nuclear facility. The world is on edge. This is a nightmare that cannot be exaggerated. Before we show you those truly horrifying images of shells and, streaking fire hitting the inside of that nuclear facility, I just want to show you what a 100-kiloton nuclear weapon, very much like what happened in what was dropped on Hiroshima and Nagasaki, what would it look like on a city? The immediate kind of damage. The immediate damage would be about 1.8 kilometers. This would be complete and direct destruction of that particular area. And remember, this is, we only want to show you this not to alarm you, but to show you what kind of damage nuclear weapons can actually do. There would be severe destruction in a 3-kilometer radius immediately after the action, after the bomb gets detonated. 5 kilometers of radius, there would be heavy damage. So 10-kilometer diameter, there would be absolutely heavy damage. And 8 kilometers, there would be damage of some kind or the other. And Akshita, as we've been telling our viewers, this is just physical, immediate, visible damage. The lasting effects of nuclear attacks and nuclear radiation are invisible to the eye, transgenerational, and in fact, in many places, permanent.
I think the stories that we have of current generations feeling the impact of what happened, in a Chernobyl in 1986, that by itself is hugely telling about the kind of impact, radiation levels, a nuclear accident or a leak or anything really has on humanity itself. So this isn't, restricted to one country per se. Shiv. If something happened today at the nuclear power plant, Europe's largest, we'd be talking about devastation impact being felt across the world.
Truly across the world. And, once again, just to give our viewers that geographical kind of reality check of what we're talking about. This is the map of Ukraine. Kiev, you're familiar with, all of India is watching India Today, so you already know this map really well. Kiev is the capital, and here is Zaporizhzhia. This is where Russian shells have landed on Europe's largest nuclear facility, which is right there. It's near the Sea of Azov, it's near Crimea, and also, of course, very close to the Russian border. So a disaster there would be a disaster of truly historic proportions that would affect Ukraine, Russia, Europe, of course, and the entire world. A massive nuclear disaster has been, put on the threshold of the world by the images that you see on your screen right now. Europe's largest nuclear power plant at Zaporizhzhia attacked by Russians. According to Ukraine, the Russians fired at the power plant, the nuclear power plant. It's a thermonuclear power plant from all sides. An administrative building was set on fire. The shelling site is very close to the reactor complex. Ukrainian authorities claim that if blown up, the disaster could be anywhere between 10 to 100 times bigger than the 1986 Chernobyl disaster.
Important to also put in context what's happening right now. The fire has been completely extinguished. Over 40 people, 10 units were involved in putting out the fire at the power plant. This is a 5-storied building. The 3rd, 4th, 5th floor, we were getting reports of the fire still raging on until about 30 minutes ago. Authorities have now confirmed that the plant is fully safe. The safety of the Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant is done. It's completely secured now, and there's no shelling that's been reported. The world was watching with bated breath, Shiv, for the last many hours as things played out here at this nuclear power plant.
Not surprised at all at the world reactions. President Biden of the United States spoke with Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky of Ukraine about the Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant crossfire. The President of the US urged Russia to cease hostilities and allow firefighters and emergency responders to access the site. Miraculously, there has been no disaster. Firefighters have been able to extinguish the fire, we're told, and there are no casualties. Mercifully, no casualties on site and no damage to the nuclear reactor complex itself, because that's where the radiation leak could actually happen in case of a disaster. Just to remind our viewers that India Today is not going to sensationalize something that is already so nightmarish. But I want to tell our viewers also, Akshita, that nuclear reactor complexes are reinforced by several feet thick concrete, barriers Every measure is made and every effort is, no effort is spared to create, reinforced structures in the event of any kind of an earthquake or, some kind of, shelling or anything of that kind. Because remember, this has been a war-torn area of the world for many, many, decades and centuries together. So obviously in the 20th century, the nuclear age, these facilities have been built to withstand attacks. But if we're talking about 21st century warfare and the kind of destruction that Russians can bring to bear, then clearly this is a threat that cannot be underestimated.
What also stands out, Shiv, and I remember this from the first day of our coverage when Russian troops had, surrounded the Chernobyl plant.
Yeah.
That itself was hugely significant, a huge message that was sent out to the world. The reason this is perhaps much scarier than that is because this is an active nuclear power plant that we're talking about, one. Second, it's much, much bigger than Chernobyl, which is why even the Ukraine government kept saying that this will be 100 times worse than Chernobyl. Zelensky said, just the word Chernobyl is all I'd like to convey to the world when this played out right now.
Thermonuclear power plant, 100 times the strength of Chernobyl, situated, in the middle of the country and with the capacity to create disaster for Europe and the entire world. And the Russians know this. So is there a bigger message here? We're going to get experts in on the other side of this short break. Be right back. The big nuclear threat. Is the world being pushed to a nuclear disaster in this crisis? Our big question, our big focus. Come back to Akshita and me next.